life is bad? Let me tell you a story. Okay, let me tell you a story. See that back there? That's a suitcase. On Monday, I drove 3.5 hours to go visit a guy because he's in the army and he just never could come visit me. Whatever. So I drive out there to go spend time with him and be close that I can see him every day for 5 days. I come over, he makes me dinner the first night, burnt the dinner to a crisp. Nothing against it, most men can't cook. Not surprised. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make dinner tomorrow night. So tomorrow, the next day, I just go drive around and I go grocery shopping and I get like $30 worth of groceries to make like a chicken garlic parm dinner. I go back to his place. For 2 hours, I am cooking so that the house smells good when he gets home and that he has something hot and ready to eat when he gets home. So I make this dinner. I prepare it. It's in the oven. He doesn't want to eat when he gets home right away, which, like, whatever. He's like, I'm going to go work out and then I'm going to eat. And I was like, cool. So he goes and works out. He comes out and we eat dinner. Does not say thank you for cooking the food. He does not say thank you for buying the food. And he doesn't even really compliment. He was just like, at the end, it was like, oh, it was good. That was it. And so then I do the dishes and I clean up. He kind of piddles in there a little bit and like dries and puts away the dishes. And I was like, okay, well, maybe he had a long day at work. You know what? I have no idea. He's in the army. Who knows? Who knows what kind of day he had? So I was like, okay, I'll try again tomorrow. So the next day I go out and I get more groceries. I buy the groceries. I go back and I make dinner. He comes home a little early and he goes straight to his bedroom. Straight to his bedroom. And I'm like, okay. So I wait an hour and a half and I'm like, well, he's still not out here. So I'm going to make dinner and eat because I'm hungry. And it's like 6:30 at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm making dinner. So I make a quesadilla for me. I make extra and put it in the microwave for him. He comes out like 45 minutes later after I finish eating. I already washed my dish and put it away. And I'm just sitting on the couch talking to a friend. He literally, I was like, hey, dinner, I made dinner, it's in the microwave for you. And he was like, cool. Goes in, grabs it, literally walks right back to his bedroom. Right back to his bedroom and sits in there and eats the quesadillas that I made by himself. And I know I'm really worked up about it because right now it is 10:30 at night and I am going home a day early because I'm not doing this. I'm going to be home at 1 a.m. I don't care. So he comes back out and I was like, so what'd you think of it? And he was like, it was good. Tasted like an actual quesadilla. It tasted like an actual quesadilla because it was an actual quesadilla, okay? It was an actual quesadilla. I was like, okay, whatever. It's fine. I'm not making dinner tomorrow night. I'm just not doing it. I'm not spending more money on this ungrateful man. So he comes back from work and he's like, hey, what you been doing? You just been chilling today? I'm like, yep, just been chilling. Calling people back home, they're checking in on me, whatever. And he was like, okay, I didn't know if you made dinner or anything. I'm like, no. I made dinner. No, I did not. So I was like, do you want to watch a movie tonight? And he was like, well, I think I'm going to just work out and make some dinner. And I was like, okay, cool. So he works out, he burns something in the kitchen for dinner. And I'm literally like waiting to see if he's done and we can watch a movie. Goes back to his bedroom like a troll, like a hermit. And so I go and I sit on the couch and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch a movie. So I walk out there to go sit on the couch and select a movie. And I hear this man in his bedroom talking to another woman. And I literally have the receipts on this, but he's literally in his bedroom playing a game, talking to another woman. And like the first night that I came over, he was like, I'm going to go back and play my game. And I'm like, I wonder if he's just been talking to this chick the whole time. So I was on the phone with my friend. I said, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm going to just make up some crappy story and I'm leaving. So I packed up all my stuff. I put it by the door and I knocked on his door and I hear him, oh, hold on a second. Somebody's knocking at my door. I'm going to hang up and I'll call you back. I'm like, somebody's me, that person that drove 3.5 hours and took time off work where she could have been earning money to spend time with you. Yeah, that's that someone. So he opens the door and I'm like, hey, my mom's having a medical emergency. She's in the ER. I gotta go home. Total lie. Super fabricated. I mean, I really should have just told him straight up that I think you're boring. I think you have no manners. And why are you talking to another girl in your bedroom? Like, while one is sitting on the couch, literally in your own home. So yeah, I am currently driving home. I am set to arrive at around 1:30 a.m. back in Mississippi. I'm so sick of dating. I'm so sick of dating because I don't know what it is about me, but I just attract the douchiest men. Like, the douchiest men. And this is terrible. At least I have enough self-worth, I think, to leave. I'm not going to stick around. But, like, at the same time, why does this keep happening? What did I do? What did I do wrong? I was never messy. I cleaned his house while he was at work. I swept the floors. I cleaned the kitchen. I cleaned the plastic he burnt off his stove the night before. I cleaned his bathroom. Like, what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, I might be doing too much, honestly. I might be doing too much. It's not that I'm not doing enough. But, like, I'm a traditional kind of gal. Like, you open the door for me. You carry my bags. Like, you say thank you if I cook for you. You should want to spend time with me. Otherwise, I don't know why we're even considering dating. Like, this is just, it's bad. It's bad. Anyways, that's my rant. So if you think your dating life sucks, mine's probably worse. It's not that bad because I always get out of it, but, like, this keeps happening. This keeps happening. And this one is the worst because I actually drove here. He would not even come to visit me. He would not come to visit me first. And I drove here. I spent my gas. I spent my money on groceries. I spent my time cooking and cleaning. And yeah, this is what it has amounted to. So I blocked him. So he's hopefully not going to see this video. But if he does, dude, you got to step up your game because you suck. You are boring. You're so boring. And you need some serious manners, and I don't think you're ready to date because I don't think you know how to treat a woman, or you're just a player and a cheater. So, yeah, I'm disgusted with dating. So the next guy that takes me on a date better impress me, or I might be an old hag that lives by herself with her farm animals. I'm just like, ah! I was literally shaking when I knocked on his door and I was picking up my bag sleeve because I was, like, so upset. I was like, this is bad. This is bad. So yeah, that is my fun story. I wish it was fake, but I don't even think I have the creative juices to create something like that in my head. But yeah, dating sucks.
One of the scariest things that ever happened to me while babysitting, story time. Now, I was 15. I've been babysitting for a few years at this point, so I had a lot of experience with kids. They love me. Well, a family friend asked if I would go babysit their 7-year-old son for a couple of days while they went out of town to Myrtle Beach, so I said, sure, that was great money for me. So the parents put their bags in the car. They showed me where everything is. Now, his mom made it clear to me that he has a very active imagination and that because his daddy let him watch horror movies the week prior, he's been having nightmares and making things up, saying that he's been seeing stuff around the house that's not there. So they get their stuff in the car, they give their son a kiss, and they leave. So I'm flipping through all the satellite channels, you know, checking out different shows, eating popcorn, little boy's playing with his toys, drinking his little juicy juice, and we're just having a good time. So I go in the kitchen to put a frozen pizza in the oven, and all of a sudden, this little boy comes flying out the living room, running up to me, and then wraps around my leg, just looking in the living room and then looking at me, back and forth. I said, damn, son, are you okay? What happened? He said, she's in there, she's in there. I said, who's in there? He said, her, but I didn't see nothing. And before I can push him any further, he walks over and sits in front of the TV and starts ignoring me. We're sitting on the couch watching TV, and their couch was in the middle of the room, so you could walk around it. Well, this little boy starts looking behind the couch and then back at the TV. So I start looking back behind us. You know, it's like a natural reaction when you see somebody else doing that, you start doing it. The more he did this, the more I felt like somebody was standing behind us, but I don't see anything. So I get up and walk across the room, and from there I can see the hallway. And for a second, something stood out to me. At the end of the hallway, it looked like someone was peeking around the corner like this. But when I cut the light on, it was gone. So I thought my mom was playing tricks on me. My anxiety's peaking, so I'm like, okay, it's the first time you've been left alone in someone else's house. Calm down, go take a shower and go to bed. But while I'm taking a shower, I get the weirdest feeling like somebody's standing outside of the shower curtain. Now, they had a big-ass bathroom. So I was like, dude, it's a new place. It's a big bathroom. You're not used to this. Just stop freaking out. But I have to keep sticking my head out the shower curtain to make sure nobody's there because I'm getting that vibe like somebody is there. So I peek out the shower again and bam, this kid is standing in the doorway crying. I said, what's wrong? He said, it's gonna get me. It's in there. I just saw it. Can I stay here with you? I'm scared. I said, yes, stay right there. Just turn the other way. And then I dry off and get dressed in the shower so he can't see me. Now it's about 11 o'clock at this point and he's still wide awake. So we sit there and talk for a little while. We play with Legos, Play-Doh. I'm just trying to wear him out so he'll go to sleep. Well, finally around 2 a.m., he falls asleep. Now, it was already so late, I didn't have time to unpack my clothes, so I just get in the bed and I go to sleep. About 10 minutes later, I hear this youngin' screaming again. Before I can even get out of the bed, I hear him thunk, 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 and he's already running into my room, jumps into bed with me. He's screaming to the top of his lungs, she's there in my room, behind the door. She's gonna get me if I'm alone. Please don't make me go back in there. So we're laying there in the bed together, and he says, I know you think I'm making stuff up. I promise you I'm not. She was there. I saw her. I said, honey, I believe you. It's okay. Just relax and close your eyes and start taking some deep breaths. This child has one hell of a grip on me. Like, he's wrapped around me like a python, so I could tell he was really scared. Like, he really thought something was going to snatch his ass off that bed. So I just held him and hoped that maybe he would calm down. Now, I know a lot of you would just tell these kids to hush and go to bed, but I'm not like that. I went through the same thing as a child. I would see things that were not there, and nobody else believed me. So I wanted him to know that I believed him and I was protecting him. So I reached over to the nightstand and I tapped that old school touch lamp 3 times and put it on the brightest setting so it lit up the room. That way we would feel more safer and we'd get some sleep. Then I start hearing some distant thunder, and then it starts pouring rain. I think, oh, well, that sounds relaxing. So because of that storm, my ass knocked out. I was doing some good sleeping until about 30-40 minutes later. That was when I abruptly woke up to the bed shaking. It felt like a small tremor, like a little earthquake. So I'm trying to get my eyes adjusted and wake up and figure out, why is the bed shaking? Apparently the storm knocked the power out because it was pitch black dark in that room, and the only time I could see anything was when the lightning struck. Once my head gets adjusted, I start hearing a noise like chattering of teeth. I'm laying there trying to figure out what the hell is that noise and what is shaking the bed. And that's when I look over and I see the little boy is sitting up on the other side of the bed with his hands holding the cover, and it's him shaking the bed. He's shaking that hard. And that chattering sound I heard was coming from his teeth. He was sitting here holding the covers with his eyes wide open and going, are you okay? Because I thought he was having a seizure, but when I looked at him, his eyes darted over to mine, and I realized he was awake. He was so scared. Like, he couldn't move. He was frozen, shaking and chattering. I'm like, well, if he's not having a seizure, what is wrong with him? And that's when it clicks. He's sitting here staring at the door, so I look at the door. Y'all, let me tell you, in that moment, when that lightning flashed, I damn near shit my pants. It scared me so bad. Have you ever been so scared that your hands and arms and legs start tingling, they damn near go numb? When I looked at that bedroom door, there was someone's head peeking around the door like this, and you could only see their eyes. And when the lightning stopped flashing, I couldn't see anything anymore. It was complete darkness. That was when it really hit me. Holy crap, we're not alone. There's someone else in the house, and they're standing right there. But what really freaked me out was every time the lightning would strike, I could see more of that person's face. Like, it started like this, and then this, and this, and then I could see their actual mouth. This person was smiling ear to ear. I could barely take a breath in. All I could think was, what the hell is that thing? And of course, the lightning stopped flashing, so for a few seconds, it was completely dark, and I had that feeling again like someone was watching us and getting closer and closer, and I was starting to panic. And when lightning struck a few seconds later, I could tell they were getting closer, because now this motherfucker, person, thing, or whatever, was now at the foot of the bed, peeking over like this, staring at us. At this point, my damn teeth were chattering. All I could hear was between the both of us. So I pulled that little boy up on my lap in my arms as tight as I could, because I didn't want whatever it was to try to snatch him out of my arms, and I held him real tight. So now when the lightning flashed, we could see its whole face peeking over the bed, smiling, looking right at us. So that was when fight or flight kicked in for me, and I remember the dad telling me that he'd put a loaded pistol in the nightstand and behind the headboard of this bed, so I start reaching around for it. And for some reason, my gut was telling me, you better keep your eyes on this thing. Every time the lightning strikes, pinpoint where it is with your eyes and don't take your eyes off or it's gonna jump. Reaching, trying to multitask, keep my eyes on it, hold the little boy, and feel around for this pew-pew, and I finally feel it, and I snatch it out of that holster and I hold it up. When the lightning struck, I pointed at this thing. I said, if you take another step, I'm gonna blow you into the next room. Get out and leave now. In that moment, something happened. I don't know what it was, but I could feel me looking into it and it looking into me, and that lightning flashed, and then all of a sudden the power cut back on. And no lie, as soon as the power came on, it was gone. I snatched him up out of the bed, grabbed that pew-pew, and ran to the kitchen and called 911. I stayed on the phone with them, the police came, and then I called the parents. I put the cop on the phone, they're talking, and then they tell the cop that they're not coming back until Sunday. Even though we're telling them we think there's an intruder in the house and their child's here, they don't give a shit. They're not coming home. They think it's our imagination playing tricks on us because the power went out and we're getting freaked out with the storm and everything. So I made it very clear I was not staying in their house another minute, and I was going to take their child back to my family's house, and that's where we would be. And they said, okay, fine, we'll see you on Sunday. So I asked the little boy if that was the first time he saw this thing, and he said no. He'd been seeing it for months, but this was the first time it got that close. Now, I knew he'd have to go back to that house, so the next day, me and my cousin went over and cleansed the entire house, hoping it would help.
I'm pretty sure this is going to be the last home healthcare video that I'll be making. I have to double check my book, but around that time, I was always writing things down whenever they happen, but I'll have to double check and let you know. So let's get into it. So around this time, I was packing a bag about, 3 days, sometimes even 2 weeks, and I'll be going to these clients' houses. I was working for this home healthcare company. And so I packed the bag for the 24th, 25th, and 26th of December, and I was at this woman's house. Now, I had already been to her house months before. I had been there consistently for months, and nothing ever happened in her house. So here we are. This is a small house. We're up in the living room and we're dancing. She likes to dance. And so we're up there dancing, having a ball. And I noticed a lot of new decoration. I'm like, oh, you've been decorating? She's like, yeah, the other girl, whenever she's on shift, she helps me decorate. I'm like, cool. The doorbell rings. I go to the doorbell. I go to the door. I open the door, and it was my coworker, the woman that she was just talking about. And she brought this chair. And I'm like, you brought a chair? She was like, yeah, it's adding to our decoration. This is something that we like doing together. I'm like, okay, cool. That was sweet. So she brings the chair in. When she brought the chair in, she set it all the way at the end of the hall. And it had this painting that was over it. So I'm like, okay, that's sweet. So we continue our stuff. The lady leaves. We continue dancing. And then the woman wants to get in bed. So I put her in bed. Fast forward to after I put her in bed, I put the motion sensors down just in case she gets up. So the motion sensors started going crazy. And I looked at the camera, and she's laying in bed. She's knocked out. So finally I stand up, and when I stand up to go check and peek my head around the corner, there's this dark figure sitting in the chair that my coworker had just brought into the house. Can't make out if it's a man or a woman just yet, but it was a very dark figure, and I heard stomping, but it didn't sound like feet. And then I look over, and it has like this cane in its hand, just stomping it on the ground, on the floor. So finally I get up, I run over to my duffel bag, and I get my Bible out, and I get to praying. And it's just sitting there looking at me like, and I said, so you just not gonna go? Like, you just not gonna leave? So then once I started to get aggravated, and I started to really be really forceful with the words from the Bible, that's when it stood up and it walked into the bathroom, and then it walked back out. But when it walked back out the bathroom, it did this high jump in the air. Like, okay, what was that about? After it did that little high jump, that weird thing, it disappeared from in front of me. But I heard the motion sensor, so I walked over to the camera. And when I walked over to the camera, I see his face, yes, it was a he, in the camera, and he's pointing at my client. So, of course, I'm aggravated. I go back there and I flick the lights on. I didn't care if she was asleep. I was just worried because I know you ain't here for her. Not right now. Not right now. So then fast forward, I played it off to the woman like, oh, do you have to use the bathroom? I'm so sorry that I flicked the light on like that. And so she's like, oh, no, I'm okay. So she lays back down. Once I go back out to the living room, I get to praying. I get to drawing crosses over all the doors, over all the windows. But next thing you know, I feel something walk behind me. And when I felt it, I turned around, and he's right here in my face, right here in my face. I almost dropped to the floor, y'all, but I couldn't do it because then he'd be thinking that he had one up on me. So that entire night, he would just randomly pop up in my face. He would randomly pop up on the sofa, or he would be sitting in that chair that my coworker brought. Now, this is the scariest part. The scariest part is the fact that right after he left up out of my client's room, I could hear her gasping for air like she needed me. And so I ran in there and I sat her up on the edge of the bed, and I'm like, are you okay? And she said that she said, I'm not ready to go yet. I'm not ready to go. Now, all this time, she's never talked like this. And so I'm just like, you ain't got to go yet if you don't want to. I think what made me more nervous about it is the fact that it was a dark figure that came to collect her. At that point, I was just like, do you want to pray with me? We had never prayed together before, but in that moment, she wanted to pray. So we prayed, right? So fast forward to while we're praying, he just sat down. Like, I wait. So I think that scared me too, because what has this woman done in her life that is so terrible to have a dark figure come to collect her and take her somewhere, and not even a prayer can stop it, can stop her from going with him. Now, here's the even scarier part. I got a feeling to look outside. So I went ahead and I looked out the window. And when I looked out the window, there were 2 other dark figures standing on the sidewalk. That scared the crap out of me because I know y'all better just be here for her. So I hear knocking on the door. Of course, I'm not answering it because I just looked out the window. I saw y'all out there. I'm not opening the door. And so the woman, she starts getting hysterical and she is like really going crazy. I'd never seen her like this before. And so do y'all know, like, probably not even 24 hours after I left, that woman passed away. She passed away. And in my head, I felt so bad. But in my head, I was thinking like, oh my God, this family gonna think I'm the Grim Reaper.
Get ready with me was story time on how a creepy man was following me and my friends at the mall. So this was about a year ago, like close to a year ago now, but it still like haunts me to think about. It was like so creepy. So me and my friends wanted to go shopping one day, so we decided to go to the mall that we usually do. And keep in mind, I've been going to this mall since I was like little and nothing bad has ever happened. So I don't really remember what store it was. I think it was Cotton On or something, but me and my friends were just casually shopping in Cotton On. And my friend told me, she's like, this guy has been following us and he's creepily staring at us. So, and I see this guy and I'm like, I don't remember seeing him anywhere. Like, how long has he been staring at? Like, has he been following us for? And by the way, this was like the 3rd store that we went into. So I didn't think that like, I hadn't seen anyone coming. And to be honest, at first, me and my other friend, because I was with 2 other girls, we thought that she was joking because it just seemed like a joke. We didn't think that somebody was actually following us. And when we looked and turned at the guy, he just seemed like a normal guy. I mean, he had like a bucket hat and like he was just like looking around. We just thought she was joking or something. But one of the girls, well, the first girl that told us, I'm gonna call her Stella, she was so dead serious. Like, I looked at her and she was like, I'm actually getting creeped out. And I asked her, like, why didn't you tell us before? And she was like, oh, I just thought it was a coincidence that he was going to the same stores as us. And for people that know me, know that I do not take these things lightly. So I literally asked Stella, I was like, I think that, you know, if you really think that he's following us, then we should go tell the workers or one of the mall guards. But then Stella tells me that he's not really doing anything like super bad. He might just be like looking, or possibly it might just be a coincidence. So we all decided that it might be a good idea to just wait and like feel things out, because we can always go to mall security where we're inside the mall. It's not like this was an outside mall. But we soon realized that Stella's tuition and what she was thinking was actually right, because the next at least 5 stores that we went into, he was always there. And even in Sephora, and he wouldn't go and like actually look around. He would like go down the aisles and like slowly follow us, and we knew it. And just to try to take him off our minds a little bit and see if like he would still follow us, I decided to go to like this Starbucks that's like in the middle of the mall. It's not like in its own little area. It's like dead in the middle of the mall. Like that's it, in the middle of the mall. So I decided like to go stop there, because like if he really decides to go and stop there, then we actually have a serious problem. So we go in there, and guess what? He goes into the Starbucks line. So at this point, I'm like, okay, no, this is actually scary as hell. So I don't go up to him. I don't say anything to him, because I'm not trying to start or get him mad or anything, accuse him of anything. So at this point, me and my friends get scared. So we back off the Starbucks line, and we decide to go to like up to the I can't speak, but we decided to go to the food court area where the guards are, like where you can like ask for help or like if you have concerns. So we go to that little office. This is the first time I ever had to go in that area since I was like a child. I've never had to go in there. But unfortunately, the story does not stop there. As we were walking, because keep in mind, we were like in the middle, but you have to take an elevator or take the escalator up to even get to the floor to talk to the guards. So at this point, we're all scared shitless, and I'm just telling everyone, like, calm down. Like, I know we're scared, but it's better to stay calm in these types of situations. So we're walking up the stairs. I mean, we're not walking up the stairs. We're trying to walk a little faster. I'm like, guys, just speed walk a little bit, but don't be too obvious and don't look back. So we start to speed walk, and guess who else starts to speed walk? The guy. So I'm like looking back, but not in a super, like, I'm doing it in a subtle way, and I'm like, oh shit. So we actually at this point are like running to the guard's office, and he speeds up so fast. Like, I'm not even kidding you. He was making it so obvious. And I am running out of time because I have no phone storage, and it literally, the video won't post if I keep continuing. So stay tuned for part 2. I'm posting tonight. Love you guys. Bye.
The Waverly Hills Sanatorium is probably way scarier than you think. I was going to do a video on it, so I started doing some research and reading about the history of it. People just talk about like the ghost stories, right? There's like a kid, like, and if you roll a ball down one of the halls, he'll like roll it back and stuff like that. And there's this like nurse that people see, and it's like, oh, it's scary. It's scary. These are scary stories. I love scary stories. I tell them all the time. But I was reading into it, and the reason it's haunted is so obvious when you look into it. The things that these... So, okay, so what is Waverly Hills Sanatorium? It's, so it was like a hospital for tuberculosis patients. And it started small. It was like 40 people, but there's like an epidemic of tuberculosis. It's an infectious bacterial disease of the lungs. And so they quickly had to expand. It went from like 40 to 400 people, and people kind of just went there to die because there wasn't a whole lot of treatments for tuberculosis. If only that was it, though, because they tried to treat it. The things that they would do to try to make people better was just downright medieval and cruel and sadistic. It's like medical malpractice blushes at the things that these doctors did. Just absolutely wild. And I don't have enough time in any video to talk about this. This would have to be like a series. But they would like collapse lungs. They would like puncture the lungs of these people with these tuberculosis, lung infection. You're dying because you can't breathe. And they puncture one of your lungs thinking, we do that and then the lung will be able to rest because it's not moving around a lot. But most of them just died anyway. And this was before antibiotics, which is the reason this was a problem in the first place. Now tuberculosis, you get TB and it's like you can treat that. It's not a death sentence. But like back then, big deal. They thought that fresh air, I mean, there's like logic to it, right? They thought fresh air would help. And so every room, these private rooms had like windows on either side. They'd keep them open at all times. And all the time, like all seasons, right? And they would wheel these patients out onto this balcony area, even in the winter. And they would leave them there. And a lot of them would freeze to death. You got a punctured lung, you got tuberculosis, you're dying already, and somebody wheels you out into the winter to die. And this was like frequent, right? And you say, okay, well, how many people could that really be? Because there's like 400 people, a lot died there. So many that they had to make this tunnel, this massive long tunnel that went from this hospital all the way down to the road so that they could take the bodies out so that people wouldn't see them and then hurt their morale. They were worried that would kill more people if they were like, oh, everybody's dying. So they would like put people on gurneys after they died, and then they would wheel them down and then come back. And this happens so often. I had to double check this number. And what I read, still can't believe it, 1 every 20 minutes. Do the math on that. I'm not great at math. Somebody in the comments. 1 person every 20 minutes. 24 hours is how many a day? And this houses 400 people. So how many people were they having to replace every day? People were just like always coming into this place just to die? Wild. And you might be like, 24 hours, that's crazy. They had people there like every 20, that's had to be like really well staffed, right? Yeah, they lived there. This infectious, incurable disease. These nurses, these doctors, they lived there. And you might think, well, did they get TB? Did they also die? Yeah. They would get it, and then they would experience the exact same kind of horrific treatments that they had just subjected other people to, and then be wheeled out the body chute, is what they called it. And they started doing other treatments, treating other diseases there that they had no right to. It's like there's so much that happened there. It's like, of course it's haunted. I'm surprised it's not more haunted. It's considered one of the most haunted places in the world. And there's like a list of all the people that died there on this website. And I was looking through it, scrolling, this list just kept going. And I'm just like, wow, yeah, a lot of people really did die there. That's crazy. And then I scrolled down, there were more pages. I had to scroll over to see how many pages there were. Like probably thousands of people. What? That's so in a single building? I want to go there. I got to go there. I have to ask ghosts some very specific questions.
Okay, y'all, so here goes a story. So remember how I told y'all I was going to work the day shift? So today I worked the day shift. You know, I'm thinking day shift, no ghosts, no spirits, no nothing. Just day shift stuff. A lot of people there, a lot of services, so on and so forth, right? So I'm sitting up at the front, and I had put like a stack of papers on the desk, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. I turn to do something else on my computer. Next thing you know, this whole stack of papers just get knocked off the desk. And I'm like, what the heck? I get up, pick the papers up, put them back where they were, and they get knocked off the desk again. So at this point, I'm like, okay, Casper, give me a sec. Okay, Casper, you're just gonna keep knocking my stuff over. So I put it back on the desk, right? I turn around. 2 seconds later, the papers are flying on the floor again. Flying on the floor again. So I look at the lady on the side of me, and I'm like, are you throwing my papers on the floor? And she's like, no, that's George. George is doing that. George is doing that. And I'm like, so who's George? Right? And she's like, oh, it's the daytime ghost spirit that's always up in here, like throwing our papers on the floor, opening doors, putting his hand underneath. If you go to the bathroom, putting his hand underneath the thing and making all the paper just fly out. So I'm like, so y'all have a daytime spirit and y'all named it? Okay, so the name is George. Got it. Cool. George, I'm here today. I introduced myself, right? So George decided that today was going to be the day to pick on me. So because I never worked daytime, hardly ever, my papers were all over the floor. Then when I got up, so I went and got me some coffee, right? I put my little cup on the desk or whatever to drink my coffee. I'm typing on the computer. Did my coffee get knocked onto the floor? So George thought it was going to be, today he was going to try me. Okay. I got to go pick up this coffee, right? I feel him, but I don't see him, if that makes sense, right? I can feel him. I go into the bathroom. I'm going to go get paper towel because I'm like, this makes absolutely no sense. Put my hand under the thing, whoosh, get my paper. As I'm about to walk out, somebody put their hand back under the thing, and next thing you know, all this paper towel just starts coming out. All the paper towel starts coming out. It's coming out so bad, it's going into the trash can at this point. And I'm just like, so I was just like, George, stop. Like, stop. Like, you're making a mess. And he stopped. He stopped doing it. And it just got like super cold in the bathroom. So I'm just like, do we need to have a conversation? So I go back out and I tell the lady, I'm like, listen. She's like, George did it, huh? Yep, he did something with the bathroom. I'm like, yes. Like, y'all don't have control over this daytime guy. Like, he's just a prankster, a jokester. So come to find out, his family, like, when he passed away, his family was like, oh, he always used to play jokes on people. You know, he was a good guy. His real name wasn't George when he was living, but that's the name that they gave him, right? So she's like, you know, they told us about him, blah, blah, blah. He's a jokester. He likes to do this, that. He'll mess with you all day. Mind you, when I come in at night, George must be asleep because I have my own little spirits, ghosts that I named a couple of them, but I don't really name them like that because they just be popping up whenever. But I was just like, y'all just let George run rapid up in here, messing up stuff and tearing up stuff. They don't have no control over their daytime spirits, like, at all. And I don't got time for that. So I had to let George know, like, listen, if I'm going to be working days, you can't be doing this to me because it makes it look like I don't know what I'm doing because I'm knocking down papers and spilling coffee and messing up the paper roll. That ain't me. So hopefully the next time I go back, if I ever go back today, George will be on his best behavior because I'm not going to deal with that. So you do get some that are like, that want to play too much, like the nights with the lights, and some that are, I've never ran across a demonic spirit. I don't know. Some people be like, oh, those are demons you're messing with. No, they're not. Some of them are kids. They are not demons. Like, they're not demonic. They're not trying to hurt me. They're not doing anything to like bring me into the afterworld with them. They're just just lost souls. We'll say that. We'll just call them lost souls. I don't treat them badly. They don't treat me badly. Like, but George, I got something for you.
6 years ago, a medium told me if I did not leave my house, that something was going to kill me. Summer 2018, I moved with my son to North Carolina where his dad was stationed. he had been living in the house that we were renting, but we didn't have anything, just the couch that we were sleeping on for a little bit, because we were gonna order a bed and it was not gonna get there until November. So we decided we were just gonna sleep on the couch. Every other room was completely done and ready to go. 2 weeks later, I started at my new job at Lux Salon in Raleigh. I started the same day as a girl named Veronica. Found out the day before I started that I was pregnant with my daughter. What's relative about that is at night, when you first are pregnant, when you're pregnant the whole time, you have to pee a ton. And my husband at the time and I were sleeping on the couch because we didn't have a bed until November, and it was September at this point. And so the first time I have to go back to the bathroom in the middle of the night, my eyes are adjusted, I sit up and I start walking towards the bathroom, which is like down the hallway. And I feel a heaviness, and then I feel like I'm walking through a black shadow. I freak out, I flip on the light really fast. Obviously there was nothing there, and I kept that light on. The first instance of something like spooky happening. But at night, things would fall off of the walls, and it was terrifying to me. So I'm telling everyone at work, like, you know, I'm the new girl, I'm weird, but I have all this stuff happening to me. So I'm discussing everything, and Veronica's like listening and stuff, and we're becoming, you know, like buds. She's clocking it. I didn't know her mom was a medium, and she didn't disclose that, nor do I think that necessarily she told her mom any of this. One night it got really scary because it was like 8 o'clock at night, we're around the dinner table, and there's banging on the side of our house, and there's no windows on that side. So I text my neighbor, I was like, hey, are you banging on the side of the house? She's like, oh my gosh, no. And then suddenly the banging was upstairs above us and in my son's room. My son had been screaming like twice for whatever reason at night, which is very unusual for him. So that freaked me out too. So my husband runs upstairs and he can't hear the banging, but I can hear the banging. And I'm like, he's like, there's nothing. I'm like, it's banging still. He runs downstairs and the banging is on the side of the house again. I don't even remember what we did that night. I blacked out. I don't remember anything. I don't even remember telling my family it was happening, but I told the girls out at work. Okay. I was like, listen, this is happening and this is creepy. I'm pregnant. Finally, we have a bed, okay? So I don't have to do the spooky bathroom trips at night. So we have a bed, we live upstairs. One night when I was pretty pregnant, I shot up in bed because I was being choked. And I'm sorry if I'm talking about this like very nonchalantly. This is my 4th time recording this. The last time I recorded it, like just 5 minutes ago, the audio was gone. So I should actually check and see if the audio is working. Okay, it's working. Wake up, I'm being choked. And it's not like reflux like you get when you're pregnant. It's like I felt like someone was choking on me. I sit up so fast. I'm like, it's hard to breathe, but I catch my breath. And I'm like, and I just think, okay, reflux. Because I'm scared. I don't want to admit that there's something spooky going on. I had a relationship with God, but not really. I wasn't praying to him or anything like that. Like the relationship was just not there. I wish I had a relationship at that point, because I feel like I would be able to just like cast the demons out. So I tell my neighbor, who's like a little bit woo-woo, and her best friend is also woo-woo. They're like witches, and they're like, listen, there is such a heavy presence in this house. Like it's terrifying. Got my cross, my baby, we've got the windows open, we're saging, I'm saying that Our Father, you know, because I'm Catholic, that's just like what I know, that's all I know. Everything is good and clear until I give birth to my daughter. I was in so much bliss, and I started getting very sick. I had rashes all over my body, I couldn't bend my fingers, like it was very progressive. And I kept getting more and more sick. I went to the emergency room. I went to my OB/GYN. Like no one can figure out exactly what is going on. So I get on this like antibiotic type of thing. And I start feeling good on Friday. Monday, June 10th, baby, is when my AVM bursts. I didn't know I had my AVM at all. So all I think is I have a massive headache. It was to the point where I could not go to sleep. And I have my whole stroke story on my profile. You can go and listen to it. So I'm gonna really skip ahead. Go to the hospital in June. I'm home by October. I realized because of my stroke, I can't go up and down stairs. At this point, like, I was in a walker for assistance. We need to buy a house. We need to buy a house. We buy a cute little ranch, and I tell all the girls at work, like, oh my gosh, like, I bought a house. And Veronica goes, wait, so you're not in that house anymore? I'm like, no. She goes, okay, my mom wrote you a letter. When I say this letter blew my mind, go to part 2.
This is how I finessed my way into becoming roommates with America's first female serial killer. AKA, my psychological finessing skills gone wrong. So you guys should eat this up. To preface, the home I'll be referencing in this video that I lived in is now owned as event space. So you don't have to believe anything I'm telling you here. You can go check it out for yourself. That roommate still lives there. She's lived there for 200 years. So if you do choose to go check it out, tell my girl I said hey. The year was 2022. I had only been living in Charleston for a couple months at this point. The time had come for me to find a new place to live. I had been scouring Facebook Marketplace and found nothing I could afford because it's Charleston. One morning, a beautiful, bright and shining ad pops up in the most beautiful carriage home of the largest privately owned residence in downtown Charleston, the Glover Scatilli House. It was listed for the right pricing of $650 a month. 22-year-old Nicole was like, ding, 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 sign me up. This is right in my budget, boys. But as you can imagine, $650 a month was in a lot of other girls' budgets too. So after I messaged the girl, she goes, you are welcome to attend our open house, but be aware there is going to be about 20 other girls there. I was like, are you kidding me? But as we all know, it wouldn't be my first rodeo. So what do? Tell them I'm not gonna be able to make it in time for the open house because I have work that night, even though I only worked a 9 to 5, and that I'd have to come early before all the other girls got there. I make these ladies fall in love with me. I was signed, sealed, delivered the next day, baby. Flash forward to a month later, I'm moving myself all by my lonesome into a brand new house. I remember it feeling thick. But I knew the house was 200 years old. I didn't really believe in ghosts. It's dark and stormy. I can't make this up. I have video. I had been in the house all of 10 minutes before I started hearing the women's voices downstairs. I knew that the 3 other girls that I was to be living with weren't going to be back in the residence for 2.5 to 3 weeks. So I was going to be staying in this house by myself. Naturally, I assume that the voices I'm hearing downstairs are maybe one of the roommates back early. So I go out onto the balcony, hey, no one. But whatever, there's an Airbnb beneath this house. Maybe it was a gardener, who knows? There's like acres of this house. That night, I'm finishing up unpacking and I hear the voices again. But I kind of dusted off because I had just started getting floaters in my eye and I was freaking out that I was seeing things that weren't there. So I was like, this is probably just part of my early onset schizo behaviors. Until one of my friends broke the news to me that floaters are a normal occurrence of people with stigmatisms. The next day, I was dating a guy at the time who was a good old boy, didn't believe in ghosts, and I knew would tell me if I was crazy. I will never forget that night as he busted out of my double doors to the balcony yelling, who's there? When a good old boy tells you you're not crazy, you know you're not crazy. As time went on, I started to realize that whatever these encounters were only primarily happening when this boyfriend was there. So one day I finally get to the point where I'm close enough with one of the roommates who coincidentally had lived in the house longest to ask her, has anybody ever questioned whether this house is haunted? She takes the biggest sigh, says, let me put on my PJs. How long do you have? I'm going to do my best to retell her story in the quickest way possible for those of you who are unfamiliar with Lavinia Fisher. Lavinia Fisher had this husband or partner. They were running the streets of Charleston, offing people, stripping them of their clothes, burying the bodies, and selling the clothes down on Market Street. So in other words, they were unorthodox consignment. And the first founders of Uptown Cheapskate. Can you imagine? They were eventually caught, and the husband was arrested and taken to jail. But in the 1700s, of course, women didn't have to go to jail if they were married to somebody without a felony, so Lavinia knew what she had to do. Our girl had to find a way to get laid. Legend has it that she was seen running the streets of Charleston in a wedding dress, begging any man she walked by to marry her. Relatable. Before her life sentencing, right here in Marion Square, as she was still wearing her wedding dress, with her final words being, "Do any of you have anything you'd like for me to say to the devil?" I was like, what? The devil? I don't know him, I don't want to know him. Nice to meet you too, sis. Why didn't we talk about this at the open house? So I'm like, let's clear some things up here. First of all, why would what about Levin? Why is she here? Because what's up with my room? Well, Glover or Skatilli were a doctor, and they would practice medical procedures on the women in the carriage home, aka my house. So they all hated men, but Lavinia especially. And their sleeping quarters were in my bedroom. Enjoy your time here, though. It's gonna be great. I thought I was moving in with 3 roommates. I moved in with like 56. Come to find out, the girl that lived in my room had these same, if not worse, experiences, like voices in the shower. Burn it down, burn it down. Things get creepier. We get infested with fleas. Crows are flying into my bedroom. And it all is circulating around this boyfriend. It was one cold night in January. I got fed up and I said, you know what? I think I want to break up with you. Was that our final moments together? No, of course not. But that night, I came home. I flopped down on my bed and I said, ladies, if there is any night y'all will let me sleep, please let it be tonight. I don't think I woke up once. And mind you, this haunting had me prescribed alprazolam. Every boy that I had to that house after that were also catalysts for terrible things happening. However, I did kind of get into cahoots with the ghosties and I felt like they were my friends and I think started to respect my game. Anyways, long story short, is it nice getting whatever I want whenever I want? Yeah. But do the spirits of the afterworld don't really care how good you are at finessing and will haunt you regardless? Yeah. So yeah, now I believe in ghosts. And you could too. And this is not promotional for that house. I don't know what they're planning to do in there, but that is not their crib. It's theirs. 'Tis the season, ladies. It's spoopy time.
82% of CIA agents are men, which is crazy to me because one time I used a guy's public Venmo transaction history and his Twitter likes to figure out that he was also seeing a girl across the country. And I just don't believe a man could do that.
Hi friends, my name is Liera, and I lived in my own horror movie for 3 years. I want to get into part 1 of that story. I also wanted to say thank you so much to anybody that commented or liked that video or followed me because of it. The fact that people care about what I have to say at all about anything means so much to me, honestly. So, like, it made me so happy. So thank you so, so much. If you like ghost stories, the paranormal, the unexplained, anything like that, give me a follow. I'm going to get into this story. It's not all my TikTok is about, but it's definitely going to be my main focus for a little bit. If you like it, stick around. I want to give, though, before, or as part of part 1, I want to just give a tiny bit of backstory real quick. I feel like it's important just to kind of set the scene. And it just kind of, it adds to the story. So, and then I'm going to start with kind of like the small things, the red flags that were missed, the small things, and then how they progressed into the big things. The big things, like I said, I'm going to kind of do like story times with those for sure as well. But to start off, so until I was 11, we lived in the house I was born in. I have 2 older sisters and 2 parents, and we lived in that house. Everything was great. Nothing weird ever happened there, whatever. We moved out when I was 11, and we moved into a super, super tiny apartment, and it was above my grandparents. So for that reason, I loved it because I could run down and hang out with my grandparents, but it was too small for us. Now, at this time, my older sisters had both moved out, so they weren't in the house. So the apartment was just me and my parents, but it was definitely too small for the 3 of us. So once the lease was up, we needed to leave. Now, this was like 2006 or 7, I think 2007. Money was tight. The recession was about to pop up. So we needed something really fast. And lo and behold, we find this huge house that is dirt cheap to rent per month. First missed red flag. Why was it so cheap? Didn't really need any repairs. It was a nice house. I mean, it was weird. Now, here's the biggest thing about that house is it is a church parsonage. I'm going to make a video too. I want to show you guys pictures, and I also want to go down to the house itself. I live literally 4 minutes away from it, and I want to film so I can tell you guys stories and kind of show you, like, because one involves a window, something that we saw from outside. I want to show you guys that window so you can really see like what I'm talking about. But anyway, we go to look at the house, and first immediate red flag. The upstairs is much dirtier, like dustier and everything than the downstairs is. And my mom or dad mentioned something about it to the person that was showing us the house. And they were like, sorry, I got a weird back cramp. And they were like, oh, the guy who lived here before barricaded the stairs and never went upstairs. Now there's 2 bathrooms in the house, but there's only one with a shower, and that's upstairs. So the downstairs bathroom only has a toilet and a sink. So he went to the lengths to not go upstairs, that he would go other places to take a shower. Why we thought that was normal is beyond me. It makes perfect sense in hindsight, because most of the terrifying, awful things happened upstairs. So, I mean, I get it. I'm so curious what he saw to eventually get him to that point, but I could take a wild guess. So anyhow, first missed red flag. Other guy never went upstairs. Second red flag, my dad and I are walking up into the attic, and so you walk up, it's like 4 steps, and then like a little kind of cubby on the side. You can open up the door. A person would fit in there, but it's kind of small, whatever. I don't know why I said a person. That sounded creepy. But anyway, then you turn, you're on a little landing, and then you go further up the stairs. But in between the stairs here, there's like a slanted wall. So if you were coming down the stairs or up the stairs, you could jump onto this slanted wall. Why you would do that, though, I have no clue. But there were like shoe prints in the dirt, like sliding down this wall. Now, that could be explained, I suppose. Somebody could have been painting. That's about the only reason I can imagine you would be on that little wall, though. There's not another good reason. So that was bizarre. We get up into the attic, and there's 4 rooms in the attic. So there's one right in front of you, one right beside that, one down this hall, and one down this hall. Now, the one that would have been right to our left had a big window in it, and it looks out onto the street. The people that were showing us the house told us that nothing was left there, that they had checked it, nobody left belongings, nothing, absolutely nothing, 0 belongings. There was a rocking chair, like right in front of this window. Now, again, I guess that's not super weird, although it is weird to me because there's multiple windows in the house. Like, why are you looking out the attic one? But regardless, it also explainable. But the rocking chair was like weird. We kind of looked at each other like, okay. That's about it with the attic. We then go down to the basement. This is where I know for a fact, like, we both felt something and we didn't say it to each other. But I remember looking at my dad, and now my dad, here's some backstory. He was a preacher at the time. He is not scared of anything, really. He's like the toughest, bravest guy I know. And we walked down these basement stairs, and I will never be able to put into words the feeling that I felt walking down those stairs. It was like this heaviness that I could physically feel my chest getting tighter, and like I can almost feel it as I'm describing it right now. And just like the air almost being sucked out of my lungs each step I went down. And we get to the bottom, and I kind of look at my dad, and I was like, it's kind of creepy down here. And he was like, mm-hmm. And when he doesn't say much, I know it's because something's going on in his head. There's like 7 rooms in this basement, and it is horrifying. The one room that has the washer and the dryer in it has clearly, like, at one time had bunk beds on the wall, almost the whole way to the ceiling, then to the floor. No mattresses or anything, but you could tell that's what it was. I have no clue who was sleeping down there or why. Then the other rooms, there was not much in them, but still, we had this horrible feeling. And then we go into the last room, and there's one of those bricks. When a building is built, or in this case, a house, and they'll put like one of those bricks or like stones in there that says the year. We see one of those, and it's in the wall, and says, I need to look it up. I think 1862, but I want to be sure, so I will look that up. So we see one of those, and then right under it is this hole in the floor. And we look, and we can see like water in it. So my dad grabs a stick. Conveniently, there's like a big like stick in the corner of the room, and he's like putting it down through, and it's not ending. It's just never ending. And he pulls it back up, and there's just like dark water just kind of dripping. And we're just looking at each other, and I could tell he knew he needed to say something to comfort me, because I'm like, what the actual helly is going on? And he was like, I'll have to look into that. So many red flags that were missed. But regardless, I loved all of the space. I'm becoming a teenager. I want to have friends over. I want my own space. You know, I need it. We needed something fast. My mom had a lot of doubts. My mom kept saying I have a bad feeling about this. She was so valid and so right to have those feelings, and we really should have listened to her, but we did not. After a few weeks, we packed up. Now, here's the crazy thing too. I don't remember moving in there. I just remember, boom, we're there. So I think that's where I'm going to leave this off for now. Once I get to part 2, we will start with being in the house once we are moved in, the things that started to happen and kind of how they progressed. If anybody has any questions at all, feel free to ask me. I'm an open book. I do not care. I will answer pretty much anything. And again, thank you for being here. I will probably put up part 2 tonight, tomorrow at the latest. All right, thank you. Bye.
I like to play a little game at home called Refrigerator Jenga, where I try to remove something from the very back without moving any of the items cluttered in front of it. And it's fun because if I win, I get my item and I feel proud of myself. And if I lose, I spend 40 minutes cleaning up marinara and broken glass off the floor.
This spooky story submission is actually so terrifying that it led to the person who was telling me the story to end up in the hospital because of this. So for the story, we're going to call her Danielle, and I'm going to tag her below. We're calling her Danielle because that's what her childhood friends and her family used to call her. So until Danielle was about 14 or 15 years old, she lived on 78 acres of land. She said that in that 78 acres of land, only about 3 other people lived on that land. So it was a pretty secluded area, and Danielle really liked to play outside. That was her favorite thing to do. She loved watching the deers, the rabbits, but her favorite was climbing trees. Something that really bothered her though is that her mother would never let her play outside after dark, and we're talking like not even after the sunset, as the sun started setting. She didn't like this, but she obviously obeyed it because it was her mother, and so she had to. Until one day, her mother decides that she is going to go out to a friend's house, and Danielle doesn't want to go with her. But if Danielle doesn't go with her, it means that she's going to be left alone. Her and her mother decide that this is okay and that Danielle is old enough to handle this, so she stays home alone, and her mom leaves at about 3 p.m. Danielle decides that she's going to go outside and she's going to play in the woods. She said that she was outside climbing trees when she felt this overwhelming feeling of being watched. It was overwhelming, and it felt like it was coming from above her. But she keeps looking up, and she's not seeing anything, so she's thinking that maybe her mind's just playing tricks on her, and she kind of shrugs it off. At some point, it starts to get dark, and she knows that she's supposed to go home, but she doesn't want to go home, and she's home alone, so she can do what she wants. So she decides that she's going to stay outside. At around 7:30 p.m., when the sun had already set, she starts hearing a noise, and it's her mother calling her name. She's calling for her to come home. So Danielle is like, oh crap, I gotta get home. So she starts walking home, but she still has this overwhelming feeling of being watched. When all of a sudden, she starts hearing twigs and leaves snapping behind her. So she looks behind her, but she doesn't see anything. She finally gets home, and she realizes that her mom is not home. So while she's outside, she calls her mom, and she's like, Mom, were you home? Like, I just heard you calling my name. And her mom was like, I have not been home this entire time. I'm still at my friend's house. She said this really freaked her out, and she decided to turn around and look in the woods, and she looked over, and she sees a dark figure standing outside in the woods. This freaks her out, so she runs inside, she slams the door, and she deadbolts it shut. She then goes over to the window, and she looks outside of her blinds to see if it's still there, and of course it is not there. She again decides that she's going to shrug this off. Maybe her eyes are just playing tricks on her, and she decides to make dinner. This feeling of being watched, this overwhelming feeling, follows her until the morning. And she said that she didn't feel like she was being watched by one thing, she felt like she was being watched by like several things. She decides to go to her camera because they have cameras in the house, and there's a new video popped up, and I'm assuming that they were motion censored. It didn't say in the email, but she did say that there was a new video, so she looks at it and she doesn't see anything, but she hears this tapping sound on their front door. It's important to note right now that their front door is a big metal door that her mom had put in when they very first moved in. Nothing is on the camera, she cannot see anything, so she decides that she's going to go outside and she's going to look at the door. Outside on the door, there are huge claw marks on this metal big door. She said that she then realized that this could not have been an animal, because if it was an animal, number one, why is it trying to get into her house? And number two, how could it make these claw marks on this big metal door her mom had installed? So this really freaked her out. So I think her way of just coping with things was just shrugging it off. So she does just that, and she goes out in the woods again, and around 7:50 p.m. she's playing in a tree, climbing it again, and she gets that overwhelming feeling again. This feeling again is feeling like it's coming from above. So she decides to look above her again, and what she saw was terrifying. She said that she looked up, and when she looked up, she saw the most figure she had ever seen in her life looking at her. Not only was it looking at her, but it was calling her name, her real name, not Danielle, her real name. But not only was it calling her name, it was in her mother's voice again. Danielle is absolutely terrified at this, and she starts bolting home, and the entire time she's running home, she can hear this thing running after her. She calls her mother on her way home, and she was absolutely bawling her eyes out. Her mom gets home, and she assures her that it's nothing, and that everything is going to be okay, and that it's not a big deal, and that she was probably just seeing things. Danielle did say that this experience was so distraught to her and scared her so badly that she actually ended up being hospitalized for 2 or 3 months because of it. She said she couldn't eat, sleep, drink, nothing. The crazy thing about this is that this is not even the only thing that happened to Danielle. Something else happened to her that even traumatized her further. This is getting really long, so I'm gonna have to make a part 2 on it. If you guys want to hear that second part, that partly also contributed to her being in the hospital, then drop it in the comments and I will make a part 2 and tell you guys that story. That story is even scarier. So what do you guys think of this? What do you guys think this was? Like, this terrified her so much that she's still in therapy to this day. And the second thing that happened to her definitely didn't help at all. So drop in the comments for part 2. Also, if you guys have anything to say to her or anything to like help her feel better, please also drop that in the comments. She could use all the love and support that she could get right now. She is going to see it. I am going to tag her. Thank you so much for your submission, Danielle, and thank you for letting me tag you. You are the first person that has let me tag you, so I appreciate that. And if you guys want to send me your true scary stories, then there's an email in my bio. Just go ahead and email me there, and I will come on here and I will tell your story. You do not have to be tagged if you do not want to. My name is Kaisa. I tell you scary stories that are true every single night. So if you like that, then hit that follow button, engage from the bottom up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much and have a spooky night.